First 10 techniques, 1 to 10. Songbong, 2 sticks, or songjokwan, commonly known nunchaka. Okay, we either have chain or rope. Very important. We only let the chain or rope hit our body, we do not let the stick hit our body. The way we measure the songbong, we usually go from wrist to elbow. We try to stay within the wrist of the elbow. If it's a little bit longer, it's going to be a little bit too difficult for some of the techniques. Also, sometimes we use longer techniques, longer sticks, but that's mostly for conditioning purposes. The chain or the rope. Usually measure chain or rope over the back of the hand. Longer, easier, shorter, too difficult to roll, but faster spinning, depending on whether you're using them for competition or for training. Usually the ones with a couple links in the chain usually good for fast spinning, but usually we measure this way over the back of the hand. Techniques that we're going to practice today, the first 10 techniques, then eventually 20 techniques, were created by Master Yi. Did them a few years ago. He created most of them, and then Master Dickinson and myself, we completed them up to 20. There's also a form that goes with this, and we will also demonstrate the form too. Okay, so beginning number 1. Number 1 technique, figure 8 technique. Figure 8 technique we use more traditional this way, using wrist and keeping the elbow tucked in. Japanese techniques tend to use more swing this way. We tend to keep more snapping of the wrist inside the elbow and inside the shoulder. This is number 1 technique, figure 8s. Slow it down and catch under the arms. Both sides technique. Same thing, figure 8s. Overhand, where the stick is swinging away from the body. And catch. We also do number 1 technique inverted, where the stick comes towards us and we swing this way, using the wrist to snap it in, to bring the stick inward. This time when we slow it down and catch, we're going to bring it over the shoulder for return, and then back under the arm to return. Same thing on the other side, inverted figures. And over the shoulder catch, and back under the arm. Number 1 technique, figure 8s. Number 2 technique, shoulder exchange. Shoulder exchange, we can bring the sticks back over the shoulder this way, or we can start from this position to bring the sticks in, and sometimes we do this as just a coordination drill for number 2, just to bring the sticks in. Number 2 technique, shoulder exchange. Shoulder exchange, many people like to initially try to bring their hand behind the back. Make sure you tell them keep their hands in the front. So we use the bottom hand, let go of the top hand, bring the stick across. This return, the chain off the back of the arm underneath here, have the stick come up. And try not to have your students reach behind them for the stick. So as we do the technique, have the stick come up, where all you have to do is stop the stick in order to catch. Number 2, shoulder exchange. Sometimes when we do this technique, after a while you may want to add a rotation to increase the momentum. Just like the first one, this one also has an inverted technique for number 2. When you do it inverted, you have to remember that this is a stick that's connected by a chain. Wherever you point the end of this stick, this one will go. If you point this at your head, this is going towards your head. So from this position, for number 2, when I do the inverted one, I bring this hand out here and ready prepared to catch. As I bring it around this way and I catch it in this direction without it coming in the back of my neck. Make sure that you stress upon your students that keep the stick pointed away from their head, or they're going to get hit in the head. Number 2, inverted. Number 3 technique. Number 3 technique works on striking. From this position, we work on what's called a diagonal strike. Diagonal strike, from shoulder to hip. The technique goes across the body. As I said before, the only part that hits your body is the chain or the rope, where the body stops the momentum. Now we're going to change momentum by bringing it here, 1, 2, and then 3, catching behind the back. Number 3 technique works on a diagonal striking technique and a return. Now a return can be practiced on any part of the body. It can be the hips, we can return off of the thigh, we can return off the neck if we need to. The return is just stopping the momentum of the stick to one way and driving it in another direction. So from this direction here, going diagonal, 1, and now we're going to change. 2, pointing the stick towards outward from the body. 3, keeping the stick pointing outward from the body. The waiting hand's pointed with the thumb in, so that when we catch the stick, we catch it and ready, so we can do it on this side. At speed, the technique looks like this. Strike 1, 2, 3, and catch around the back. Strike 1, 2, 3, and then catch around the back. And nobody try to remember 3 with those 3 techniques.